we have our firstborn on the 7th, and then I incorporate the company on the 13th. And I spend every dollar we have in the account to get 100 business cards, insurance policy, and then get us registered with the state. So I bring my baby home with no money.
And no cleaning supplies.
No cleaning supplies, nothing. I'm telling you, it is literally bootstrapped. And we were strapped.
I'm getting nervous for you,
Yeah.
and I know you made it, but this is something.
Oh yeah, we had nothing, and new parents trying to navigate that, and it's a nightmare. Digging into the coffee can, of coins.
Bootstrapped Unicorns, we're back with another episode, and I'm excited to introduce you to a friend of mine, Jeremy Morris. No, he's not brothers or cousins with Zach Morris, as far as I know. Nope. Okay. But he is the owner of a reasonably large cleaning company. And, sometimes we get into conversations and we go, oh, the sexy businesses are the ones that, they're big finance and they own their own tower. And if you've been following this show, just recently we had Ken Rusk on and we were talking about blue collar cash. And that's real. And it's super important, not only for the business owner and the employees, but our economy at large. And we literally have blue collar cash in the room. But I would also say, he didn't start that way. There's a story that you need to hear. So without further adu, Jeremy, hey.
Hey, man.
How are you?
Great.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start with the simple stuff. I love giving people who are listening a baseline, like who are you now?
Sure.
Give us the name of your business, maybe the size and scope of your business. I'm always cautious to warn that, you don't have to divulge financial information, but if you can give us a little sense of how we can be impressed with what the hard work that you've done, that would be awesome. So, Jeremy, who are you?
Yeah. Today we are 11 years in business as of January 13th.
Congratulations.
We have 56 employees by probably yesterday's count. 5 of that is a leadership support team. The rest are people actually boots on the ground cleaning the facilities.
That's an interesting ratio.
Yeah. The support staff is myself. We have 2 ops managers currently, and then we have 2 administrative folks. So that'd be the 4. In addition to that, we have another person that does our quality control operations. And so her whole job is to just go to facility to ensure that those forgetful items are being hit. So again, 11 years in business. We currently run, I believe, about 115 facilities.
Wow.
Across 7 counties. So we're in Seminole, Orange, Lake, Polk, Volusia, Marion counties. Was that enough of them?
I think that was enough of them. And for the out-of-state listeners, that's Central Florida in general.
There you go.
Depending on who's talking, it's a 15-county Central Florida area. Mm-hmm. But the closer you get to Orlando, you could have less counties in that list.
Sure. So we're spreading. We're growing strategically. Currently, we are grateful to do just around $2 million in annual recurring revenue.
That's outstanding.
It is outstanding, considering we started with 1 facility and myself cleaning it. So
I was going to ask you, how familiar are you with toilet bowls?
Very familiar. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, and I'm just getting into your lingo. I know you call it environmental services, and I think I would have, as an uninitiated in your industry, called it janitorial services. Now, is that just like cute up-leveling linguistically, or is there actually a difference?
Yeah, I wouldn't go with cute.
Okay.
But sure, level up. What we have is in the verticals we offer. We offer residential and then academic commercial healthcare.
Okay.
So for residential, most say maid service or a maid or housekeeping. That tends to be pretty simple for that industry. For academic and commercial facilities, we would just say janitorial services. They're hiring a janitor or a custodian. For healthcare, we prefer the term environmental services for healthcare. It's just synonymous with that type of work. And so when we're speaking to our healthcare customers, that's generally the term we're going to use because that's the term that's most recognized in that industry. Janitorial is going to be most recognized with your typical buyer or purchasing agent looking for a janitorial service for commercial.
So it's just linguistically, depends on the industry vertical, all of it has similar connotations, but you just use what you need to express the idea.
Yeah, for as much as it pertains to our company specifically, there is a wider scope within environmental services that we don't necessarily we don't offer those services.
Sure.
But we're still in that environmental services category. But it is a wider scope for sure.
Got it. Okay. I had a friend who actually used to use that terminology, but all he did was parking lot sweeping and portering services outside. Yeah. So that probably fits in that category somewhere.
Certainly can. Yeah, it can fall under the major title of construction. So you can have construction environmental services too. So it really is a wide scope of offerings in there. Ours are really specifically janitorial services within healthcare. So it's janitorial within that environmental services scope. So we don't do any biohazardous waste. We're not doing any, major like bio cleanup.
No crime scene cleanup stories.
No crime scene cleanup stories. No. We just do the janitory within these medical facilities. So we're doing the same things we would do in a commercial facility, but in healthcare at a higher healthcare standard.
That's the sense that I got. That environmental services felt, especially for healthcare, like you're living up to an expectation, and probably maybe even for some facilities a legal requirement to just be better than just the average Joe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, meticulous standards. I always explain to people, I say, listen, our customer are nurses and doctors, right?
Yeah.
And if you go in to get your blood drawn,
it better be
I'm sure
clean.
You've done.
Yeah.
Well, you want it to be clean, but you also want that nurse to get that vein with one poke. Like it's a one poke rule. I don't want to be messed with. I don't want to come away bruised and in pain.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of cringing as you're saying this.
Right. So I try to make that as an expectation of my employees, as well as that. Look, that's what we expect of them. They expect the same of us. Like we need to go in and get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And if we don't get it right the first time, no excuses. Let's just go back in and fix it and get it right. Because that is the standard they're held to. Therefore, we need to hold ourselves to the same standard.
I love that you have quality people too. The fact that there is actually somebody assigned to minding the standard is really cool. Absolutely. So I know when I was growing up, I thought I was going to be a baseball player. That didn't happen, and it's okay. When you were growing up, did you say, "Yep, we're cleaning bathrooms. Yeah, we're going to take the trash out"? Was that your dream?
Isn't that everybody's dream?
Totally. Actually, I'm pretty sure I was bucking the system and didn't want to take the trash out for my mom.
Listen, I think every time Mom asked me to clean the toilets, I jumped for joy. Of course, yeah, it was what I wanted to do with my entire life. No.
What was the plan?
Yeah, so early on, when I was a young kid, 3rd, 4th grade, I thought I'd be the president.
Really?
Yeah.
So actually, people joke about that, like, oh, you're going to grow up to be the president. And there was a whole bunch of people who would hear that joke, and it's actually not them. You were the guy?
Yeah, I really wanted to be. I had a gifted and talented program I was a part of, and one of the projects I did was collecting autographs from people. And so I collected them from all the living presidents at that time and the sitting president.
Wow.
And I was just fascinated with the idea. I didn't know anything about it, politics, right? Now I would not be interested in that job, but it was early on what I thought I'd do. And then I was bullied extremely bad in school.
Really?
And so, yeah, extremely bad. And so at 12 years old, I picked up a guitar. And that changed my life because it gave me a place to run, and it gave me something I could be good at, something I could identify with. And so
you don't strike me as somebody who would be bullyable, both in like personality and even stature. Like I've stood next to you. You don't seem like the pipsqueak who nobody deserves. But if a bully sees a tiny guy, unfortunately the tiny guy's a target. It doesn't make sense to me when I see you. Has there been a change in you that makes you that guy who's not a target anymore, or were you just like unfortunately in an environment that was just bully full? Like I know this is not really business talk, but
no, let's go.
But I'm genuinely confused.
Yeah, sure. Bullying is obviously never fair, right? Kids can be ruthless and mean, and then there's almost this secret realm that they come from that we don't know anything about, right?
Right.
Their parenting, what's happening in the home, what's happening to them.
100%.
Bullying is completely unfair, a lot of times to the bullier and the person being bullied. I was a pipsqueak. I was a little tiny kid, and I also had a mouth on me too. So as time went on, I realized that perhaps I brought on some of it. Mm-hmm. But there was a moment in 6th grade. I grew up in a small town in Wyoming. And so there was this moment in 6th grade is that moment when all the elementary schools, they converge and we all come together. And so your insulated group that you ran with has now been divided. And some kids maybe were a part of sports, so they knew some of these kids from the other schools. I was going in blind. So that summer before, I had gotten to know a kid who was a troublemaker. But we hung out that whole summer, rode bikes, hung out. And I thought we were cool, but he was a bully. So I thought we were tight. And so 6th grade, first day of school, everybody's waiting outside before the bell rings. And I go up to talk to him and, just kind of like, hey, man, here I am. Good to see you at school. Just kind of, this is a good guy to probably have on my side.
Sure.
As all the schools come together. And no kidding, he picked me up as if he didn't know me, and he threw me in the dumpster outside the school.
And then you went into janitorial work.
I wish it was that easy. And unfortunately, the entire school body saw that, and it really marked me forever. So I was picked on until about my junior year of high school.
Really? And that's a long time.
It all took a turn in junior year. But
do you know why it took a turn?
Music. That was it. Yeah. So I focused my energy on music. I would run home from the bus stop. I would run to the bus stop. I would avoid altercation at all costs because I was so little. I was a tiny kid. And
when did you have a growth spurt? Because you're not tiny now.
Well, I suppose. I guess it's just taking on that weight that happens over the 20 years since that time, right? It just
adulthood, finally winning on some of those.
You got it. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, gravity starts winning. So I practiced the heck out of my guitar, made some friends with some kids that practiced their guitars a lot, and we started a band when we were really young at like 14, and we were dead serious. So while a lot of kids were partying and doing things they shouldn't have, we were going into our guitar player and singer's dad's garage at his shop, and we were just practicing all the time, constantly playing music. And so then we grew up in a tiny town, so there was no place to take that talent. So we started renting out the fair building, and we actually had his parents help us with a loan, and we got sound equipment, and we got lighting equipment, and we got all the stuff we needed. We built a trailer. He built a trailer with his dad, and we then started renting out the fair building and doing it just like a concert hall. We'd sell tickets through all the local businesses. And the first one we had, we packed it out. It was packed out. And it changed everything. It changed the way I was treated at school. It changed having a circle of friends. I always jokingly say I went from being probably one of the most bullied kids in school to taking one of the most popular girls to prom.
Wow.
It was crazy. Totally crazy. And it was just this moment. I remember junior year. He's a dear friend of mine now. I love him dearly. He was one of the kids that would pick on me. And junior year, during lunch, and we had open lunch. We could go places, right? He looks at me and he goes, we've never had lunch before. We should do that. And I'm sitting there looking at him like this, the same way you're looking at me, going,
what?
Do you know who I am? Like, you hate me. And that's when I realized it changed. It had changed. And so I had an identity. Our group was that identity, that band. And that then became my pursuit. I was like, wow, I'm good at this. And music became, to answer your question, that was my first pursuit. That was my first career.
I was going to make a comment like, oh, that's the power of being the guitarist. But, it seems to me that the guitar didn't do it. It was your diligence with that brought you to a level, so it was in you to become the person who could be seen that way. You could pose with a guitar and not get very far, but you did something pretty remarkable to spend all that time. How many years of practice was that? From 12 to probably about 17 years old before you were getting that big shift?
So 12 to 14, it was really hard individually. At 13 or 14, we started playing together as a group. We actually recorded our first CD when I was 15 years old. We recorded our
Do you still have it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We recorded our next one when I was 16. And then we moved out here when I turned 18. All of us did that same group from 14 years old. We all moved together.
To where?
To Florida. That's how I got here.
Why Florida? Why not Nashville, LA, New York?
Fantastic question. We were destined to make it, and we all really wanted to do this. We actually had a guitar player who was able to graduate early so he could meet us sooner out here. But I turned 18, and 2 days later, I filled up my 88 Chevy Corsica with what I could, and we started the journey to Orlando, Florida. And the reason we chose Orlando is we had a friend who was in radio at the time out here. He was with WDBO. And so it was between LA and Orlando, and we thought, well, Orlando had this amazing scene that wasn't too far gone at that point. I mean, in Central Florida in general, I mean, we had Matchbox 20, we had Creed, right? We had some bands that really made an impact on us, like Virgos Merlot with Brett Hesla, and Double Drive out of Atlanta that had something going here. We had Seven Dust. Manson was not too far away. Not that I listened to him, but he wasn't far away.
Sure.
And then we had the past, too. We had the Molly Hatchets and the Leonard Skinners. So
I think NSYNC came out of here, too, right?
Right. So there was something happening here. There was something vibrant enough that we said this is obviously an option. So do we go somewhere where perhaps the mystique of making it is much stronger, like LA? Or do we go somewhere where we know someone and we know there's a steady scene out there? And so we chose.
I mean, honestly, that's a good plan.
Yeah, so that's why we chose it. That's
How'd
why
it
we
go?
came here. Ooh, rough. Yeah. So
That's great.
yeah, so we got here, and man, for a year, for a bunch of 18-year-old kids, you would have thought we were out of our minds. We partied really, really hard, didn't get very far, and spent about a year doing it. And then those guys were gone, like they were done. They left.
So who was left?
And just me. And it actually put me in a position where I had to be homeless.
Like homeless?
Yeah, living out of my car. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, hold on. So pause for a second.
Yeah. Listen, you can sign up for this story, okay?
No, hey, dude, this is good. This is really good. So, Bootstrapped Unicorns. This is our first former homeless to success story on the show. And I am so excited because there are people who will watch our show, Bootstrapped Unicorns, and they are on the rocks with something. And you seem reasonably well adjusted now. Like, life seems like it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's great.
That's the short version right there. He was formerly homeless and life is great now. Sure. Hope. There is some. Let's keep going here. So you are living out of your car. Yep. Your friends have abandoned the dream, not necessarily you, and it's not personal necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do?
Yeah. It's just like the bullying too. I had underwent the bullying as a kid. I also dealt with some other trauma that took many more years to go through as a child, unfortunately, which then came to a close eventually as well. And I have always been so grateful that these things that happened to me and happened to so many other people didn't have these lasting impacts, these incredibly impressionable things. They actually worked the opposite for me. The bullying taught me resilience and perseverance and strength in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
The trauma that I experienced as a young boy, that taught me forgiveness.
Sure.
And I had to learn forgiveness in realness. I had to understand what that actually meant, what it meant to forgive. And so when I came here, I was so dead set on making it, Josh, that I ended up living out of my car. There were these two ladies, a mother and a daughter, that had a hotel room at the time. And so periodically when I could afford it, I would go in there and shower, take a nap in the bed. Other times I'd be in the car. And I met the security guard at the time. I haven't thought of this in a long time. I met the security guard of that extended stay at the time, and he would let me into the laundry room in the middle of the night to write music. And so I'd sit on top of the washers and dryers with my acoustic guitar and write some of the first songs that I had. And so when you have a car to go to, and I'm waiting tables at that time, and my mom's like, you need to come home. And I'm like, I'm not coming home. Like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm determined to
So they knew you weren't hiding it.
Yeah, no, not at all. I was determined to make it. And it absolutely drove my mom insane, knowing that I was in this situation. So I'm waiting tables, and I'm going to the Guitar Center, right? And I'm playing music because I don't have anywhere to go. Like, there's not a place I can really hang out, right?
Were they cool about that?
What?
Guitar Center. I mean,
Yeah, of
I know they
course.
like people coming in playing a little bit, but I didn't know if like he's kind of the regular. We can't really get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I was showered. You know what I mean? So yeah, I went in and I would dink around on the instruments. I would avoid all the songs they didn't want to hear, you know, and I'd play. And this guy, it was
no Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, no Stairway to Heaven, never. There was a guy that really he was a critical piece in my life at that moment, and he came up and he goes, "Man, you're a good player. I'd love to have you come out and try out for my band." And so I did, and it didn't end up working out, but it led to me meeting him and one of his friends who owned a studio.
Okay.
And I said, "Man, I don't have much, but I would love to come in and work on some songs." And so I came in. He wanted to work with me on the songs, therefore I got the studio time for free. And when I got in there, they were working with this young band. And they were young, and if any of you are listening, they were horrible. Horrible. And so I was like, this is really awful stuff. And they came back to me and they go, "Hey, listen, they need a bass player." And I said, "Absolutely not. Like, I have come here to make it in the music industry.
Can't make it with a horrible band.
Can't make it with a terrible band." And to their credit, the drummer was like 9 years old, and one of the guitar players was 13 and 14, and they were just these young kids.
They were like the evil Hanson. What was going on?
It was just not good. And but there was something there. There was ability there, and you could sense the ability.
Got it. Okay.
And so I said, "Absolutely not." And so he came back another day, and he goes, "Listen, they're willing to pay you $100 per song that you record if you're willing." And I said, "Do I have to put my name on it?" And they went, "No." And I said, "Sign me up." They had 13 songs, and I was living out of my car. I'm like, "Absolutely."
Yeah, I'm on this.
Yep, on it. And so I'm recording it. Obviously, I don't know what's happening with these recordings, but it comes back. They're like, "They really like this. They really want you to play with them." And I said, I can't. And they're like, "But they're playing at Hard Rock Live." I said, "Well."
Okay.
I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "They'll pay you $400. And at that time, I mean, we're talking 2003, 4. Like,
so that's
amazing.
Yep, that's a good day.
Huge. So it was two shows, these recordings, a couple $1,000, and I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And ended up talking with one of their fathers who is, again, he's like a father to me now, just an amazing man. And he goes, "Listen, we'd love to keep you around, and you know, here's what we can offer. If you rehearse with them, we'll pay you this much. We'll do this and this." And I said, "I'd like to help them. You know, that's what I'd like to do." And so I started working with them and started working on their songs, and they had these 10-minute long like pop metal epics. And I'm like, "Okay, let's keep it heavy, but let's shrink this down." And so we started retooling this music, and the singer ended up leaving. I ended up standing in that position and singing for him.
Yeah, you do have a voice for radio in a big way.
Yeah. So we worked through it, and eventually what that became is that actually became the band that I would make my first career really in music with. During that time...
Can you share their name? Like, I'm feeling lost.
I would love to, for sure. So the name of the band was Through You.
Through You.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't say I've heard of them. Yeah.
So I always tell people, I say this: listen, when you get a concert ticket and you went to go see two bands, right? You have the headliner and you have the one that's opening for them. We were that third band. That when you got there, you were like, "Oh man, you know, we don't know of them, but hey, they were really, really solid." So that's the band that I ended up moving forward with. That was the vehicle for music, and it became very equal. Like, the young songwriter at the time, guitar player, he was phenomenal, truly a talent, and the drummer really came into his own and became an incredible prodigy of drummer. And so the band continued to take shape, and obviously I got out of my car as well, but that was just through the kindness of a man that used to come into the restaurant as a regular that I'd wait tables, and he was really concerned, and he would always say, he's like, "Listen, man, I've got a room, just come and move in." And I didn't want to. And finally, I was a little nervous because I didn't really know him, and I'm a small town kid. Yeah. And then the other thing was that I didn't want to take a handout. You know, I was really prideful.
I feel like a lot of people get hung up on that. And I know recently for me, you know, and you don't know my full story, and it's on one of these episodes at some point, but, you know, I too had, you know, some leaner times, and mine came after being a millionaire and then losing most, if not all of it, and then having to climb back out. And in the climb out, I realized that both at pre-millionaire, millionaire, and post-millionaire status, before I kind of woke up, it's okay to accept help.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until I knew. And I don't know why, but I think that's rampant. I think there's a lot of people who won't take the handout. When I think the truth is, like, now you're the one who would probably be willing to hand things out and pay things forward.
Yep.
Just the same I would, because somebody helped me. Absolutely. Why would I say no?
Yep. Well, and that's the thing. He goes, listen, I'm going to tell you what. He's like, I am literally going to get a hold of your mother if you don't move in with me.
Wow.
And so I did. I'm like, fine. And so I moved in with him, ended up living with him for a couple of years, and he was just such a catalyst in me overcoming some of those traumas and some of those issues. He was a friend that I could talk to. He was there for me. He helped me. Wow. And he allowed me an opportunity to truly get a leg up and get ahead and get above the water, not just swimming through it, but actually above it, so that I could exist and have some success. And so he was absolutely a wonderful, wonderful friend, and man, still is. So it allowed me to focus on the band and work with the band. And to their credit as well, they were just disorganized, like they were young. Yeah. And so it's not that I came in and I was this miracle worker. They had all the talent. They had all the ability. They had the songs. I didn't come in and write the first songs. I just came in and helped them kind of fine-tune them. And then later with that band, years later, we would have a guy that would come in and he would live produce us, if you will. He would sit there and go, this is good, this isn't so good. You're not really singing well here. Let's fix these things. And that's kind of what I was doing. But they had a ton of talent. It just needed to be refined. Yeah. It needed to be exposed. So I certainly don't want it to come across that I was their savior walking in.
Sometimes it's a great timing thing.
Yeah.
It's your talents and it met their needs at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So did the band make it? Did you record albums? Did you tour? Like you said, you're number 3 on the list. Like, wow me a little bit, because I got a sense that you might have been in some concert settings where there was more than a 200-seat room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We were very fortunate. We had kind of cleaned up what we were doing, cleaned up the act. I came in as a singer, and then I was not ready to really lead a band as a singer. I'd never been in that situation before, but they were moving pretty fast. At that point, we had been published in our first magazine. It was Blast Magazine, 2005. It was the Hot Guys issue. And we had a 2-page spread in there, which was crazy to be 19 years old and have this, like you found yourself in a magazine. I remember so vividly going to Publix and going to the magazine rack and finding Blast Magazine and knowing I was going to be in it and just opening it up in the aisle and just literally stopping everybody.
Hey, that's me.
Like, that's me. Like, this is me in this magazine, So it was exciting, I remember when
and they're like, great kid, where's the yogurt?
Yeah, right. When I checked out at the register, I'm not even kidding, it's so bad. But I opened it up to that page as it went down the belt.
Yes!
Just so that she'd see it, like, this is me.
That is so 19-year-old just getting on his game.
Oh, my goodness.
That is
horrible,
awesome.
Horrible. So we... they were moving pretty quick, and we ended up in a studio with Steve Hagler up in Freeport, New York, Cold Springs Harbor area, in Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we ended up there. Steve Hagler had done Pixies' Doolittle album. He had done Fuels Records, Local H, done a lot of stuff at that time. Yeah. Brand new. He was a pretty solid producer.
So that's an interesting list that you gave me. So genre-wise, you fell into that in some way?
Somewhere in there, yeah. So he worked on our record, and we started recording the instruments. I went in to do vocals, and I was in there for about 2 days, and I came out, and he's sitting there with the mixer and with our manager, and he goes, "You can't be the singer." And
why?
Because I was awful. Truly, I was awful. And
you were willing but awful.
Yeah, and it broke my heart because there was so much pressure. So, I'm sobbing in the studio. He's crying. He's turning his back to me because he just can't handle it, Yeah. And it really was this shocking moment where I felt so betrayed. And so we went back to the room, and instead of being up in the studio finishing the work on the album, we had to put a pause on it. And so we all had to get plane tickets, fly back to Florida, figure out what we were going to do. And so we started hunting for a singer. And when we found our singer, Michael, that's when the band really took off. He had it. Like, he had it. in our industry we talk
Yeah,
about it.
I get it.
Yep, he had it, and he was just so charismatic and so talented, and he was able to take the music we had written as a bed and then overlay these vocal parts that were just extraordinary. And so we flew back up to New York, we cut our first EP, and then we started pushing it. And so that was 2005. By 2006, we had recorded a live DVD CD combo from House of Blues, ended up taking us on a tour of Japan. So we spent a couple of weeks in Japan playing different clubs and venues over there, doing TV and different stuff in that market. We came back in 2007. We knew it was time to record some new material. So we got into the studio with Jason Sukoff, who had done a lot of stuff with Roadrunner Records and a lot of metal bands, and we were a little bit heavier. So we got in the studio with him. And while we were working on the record, we got a notification from a partner management group that we were working with that said, hey, Korn and the Family Values Tour would like you to be on that tour. And
wow.
Yeah, it was huge, massive opportunity. And they needed a couple of things from us. They needed a CD and they needed a music video. So within a space of about a week and a half, 2 weeks, we had dropped a music video, recorded it really, really quick in a warehouse not too far from here. That
I was just gonna propose your music video, which is you're heavy, find a warehouse.
Yeah, you can pull it up on YouTube. We're in a warehouse sweating. That is real sweat. Like, it is so hot in there. There's no AC. It's just totally awful.
All right. So the name of the track was what?
Well, that's a whole other story in itself. We'll return to that. Let's return to the name of the track.
Okay.
So we cut the record really, really fast. That'll lead to the name of the track. And then we headed out on that tour in 2007, Family Values tour with Korn, Evanescence, Flyleaf, Trivium, bunch of really
great
bands.
Oh yeah, phenomenal bands. Now Trivium's local.
Yeah, they are.
And Jonathan Davis is here, right?
I don't know if he's here or not.
I think he's here now.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know if he was always here, but I think pretty sure he lives here now.
Yeah, the Trivium boys and us, we were kind of moving in the same circles a lot, and so we knew them decently well. And then we were actually breaking at the same point on that tour is Five Finger Death Punch. So Five Finger Death Punch and us, we were alternating on the second stage. And then they went off and went wild, and we did not. Our band actually imploded right after that tour, which is it's pretty wild. Like, it all just came to a halt. Tried to keep it together until 2012, and then I finally officially retired from music. But in that time, we had rushed to package an EP, right, for the tour.
Yeah.
And so we had in the studio what are called working titles. Now, I don't know if you do stuff like that here.
Oh, here all the time. Like, everything's, you got to call it something. We're not going to call it file 70201AB.
Yes.
We're going to give it a working title, and then later we'll figure out what it actually is.
You got it. Well, we had to rush to do a music video and rehearse for a tour. We had like 25 minutes, and we needed to cram as much music into it as we could, right? And so management took over. Management took over pressing of the CD. And so when the CD got pressed and we got it back, we went,
all the working titles are on there, aren't they?
Well, one working title was on there, and a really inappropriate title. We were a totally clean band, truly a clean band. The singer and I still, we were Christians then, Christians now, backslidden ones at that, but we were Christians.
But still, like, kind of towing the line in certain ways.
Never any swearing in the music, nothing negative, nothing bad, except for this one title of one song.
You don't even have to say it if it's crude.
Well, it's out there, but it's Kulo was the name of the song, and it was because there was this reggaeton track at the time that was like dum 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 dum. We have a part in the song that sounded like that, so we're like, we'll just call it Kulo.
Yeah,
that works. That wasn't supposed to be the title of the song, but it ended up being on the music video, ended up being on the CD, and.
So I'm going to just say it on the show right now. I was planning on being like, hey, Miller, could you edit in 12 seconds of that clip? Do I have permission to just go ahead? Okay, yeah, we got to see this, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Order is in.
Yeah. The song itself has nothing to do with that title.
Right. Okay.
It's all about just one door being open when one closes. It's the whole song. That's what it's about. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because doors opening and closing seem to be a bit of a theme in this story so far, and being willing to maybe knock down some doors too.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So now in 2012, you've got an imploded band and an interesting story.
Yeah.
And you say you quit music. Did you literally walk away?
Oh, yeah.
So fast forward to today. Do you play any guitar at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Now, in a healthy manner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Sometimes I'll meet somebody who's like, oh yeah, I put that instrument down, I'll never touch it again. And that always boggles me. Like I'm kind of I'm an amateur musician myself. And at least once a year I found myself back on playing because it's a little part of you.
Yeah.
I mean, so when did you pick it back up?
I think it was around 2015.
Okay, so you took like a 3-year hiatus.
Pretty much.
And did you need that, or was it spite? Was it anger? Was it fear? Like what? A lot of stuff.
Yeah, we imploded for many reasons that just weren't good. And in the moment, it was heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
You think you're on the cusp of actually making it. Your dreams are coming true. We're in the top 1% of musicians in the nation. Like we're out there, we're doing it, and then everything comes crashing down. And tried to hold it together. We ended up recording one more album in 2011. We used everything we could. And so what I had kind of told myself was, let's record everything we've got so there's no regret. This is what I told myself. I didn't tell the band. After it's recorded, we're going to shop it around. All the connections we had at that time, anybody we knew in the industry, let's see if we can get a bite. And we didn't get a bite. And I had told myself that if I didn't get a bite, I would be done. And because I was over it. It was like sleeping under a wet mattress was playing music. It was just horrible. I hated it. And so I'm married, as you know.
Yeah, when did you get married in the story?
So I got married in 2010, but I've been with my wife since 2005, so the beginning of the band. So she's been through all of this with me.
Oh, God bless her.
Yeah, everything, all of it. And so she was really resistant at first. She supported me immensely, still supports me immensely. And she was a little resistant. And so I held on, I think, probably longer than I would have for her. And I'm glad I did, because I was able to get all these songs out, get them all recorded, put out this final record, which I'm incredibly proud of. And
that alone is a win.
Yeah, and then leave. And then I was done. So when I finished, I genuinely hated music, Josh. Hated it. Absolutely abhorred it. Wanted nothing to do with it. And so one day I was packing up all the instruments in the house, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm done. I'm finished." And she goes, "I don't want my kids growing up in a house without music." And I said, "Fine." So I did what any reasonable man would do.
Oh, no.
I went and bought guitar hangers from Guitar Center, stuck them in a wall, and hung up all the guitars like a museum piece. And I left them there and didn't touch them. That was it. And so fast forward, my first daughter's born in 2013. By 2015, I had fallen back in love with old country and old Appalachian bluegrass music. And so I took the last of my gear that I had from touring, my endorsed gear and all of that, and I took it to Sam Ash. And they said, "What do you want for this?" And I said, "I want that banjo in a case and some picks." That's it. And so I traded them thousands of dollars in gear for a $800 banjo, brought it back and started playing that.
You're a terrible negotiator.
Yeah, well, I just wanted the banjo. So I started picking on that, and that kind of revived this sense and love for music. But
were you teaching yourself banjo, or did you already know it?
Teaching myself.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and there was a lot to it. You know, when I look at the time when I looked at the band imploding, it was my whole world was crashing down. When we look at it now, it saved my life.
Yeah.
It really did save my life, because outside of memories from music, really the only thing outside of memories and my wife and some experiences, really what I brought back were horrible habits and addictions that nearly killed me. And so it was a life-saving moment that it all imploded. But it also created, I had taken an art and I had tried to make it a career for so long. And there was so much baggage in it, right?
Right.
Like, how did it start, right? How did it continue? What were those things that were propelling me as a musician? There was so much baggage inside of it that when it ended, I was done. I was done with it. And so when we began going to the church we're at, I didn't even want people to know I played, right? Like, I didn't tell them.
Well, they're going to suck you into playing, too. If they know you're even half good, at church, you're voluntold frequently to participate.
Totally secret. Kept it a secret for a long time. Yeah.
Wow. So, basically you're unemployed at this point. You were a musician making money. You didn't have a side gig yet, right?
So we were musicians not making money. We had the gracious support of an investor, which kept us afloat. Once we got off that tour, that Implosion was almost immediate. Mm-hmm. So I had to actually get a day job.
Okay.
And so I was a receptionist, long-haired receptionist at a cardiology office.
do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a rough transition where I was an overnight bouncer in nightclubs, and daytime I was slinging paint at Home Depot because you got mouths to feed and you got to figure your stuff out. I remember those days. How long were you doing that?
Well, that's what eventually led to the business. So I was there for 6 years. 6 years.
Wow, that's way longer than I expected.
6 years, yeah. 6 years.
Okay, and at what point? So let's get to that story of the business. Like, you know, you bootstrapped this in all of the truest sense. Mm-hmm. Like, where did you have the business idea? How did you execute on it?
Yeah. Good. Great questions. So I had started at this place in 2007 and continued to work there. I did try to move up in the company, if you will. And to me, with just this I can do anything I set my mind to mentality, it seemed reasonable. Looking back on it now, I'm like, I wouldn't have put me in charge either. But I tried. And I was making, at my peak, about $1,400 a month. That was my peak. And my wife had been blessed through just divine intervention with this amazing leasing consultant job. And so she was making about 4 times that at the time. It was absolutely amazing. But then she got pregnant with my firstborn in 2012. And that was great. It was a blessing. It was what woke us up to sobriety and a bunch of other things. But
kids had complication, though, because you got new responsibilities.
You got it. And we could not afford childcare. At that time, we had no church family. Her family was in Lakeland, is in Lakeland. All my family's in Wyoming. So we were struggling going, how are we going to afford childcare and go back to work? The facts is I couldn't go and make more than $1,400 a month because I had nothing to show for, right? No credentials at all.
Right.
So even if I went to make a job change, I would be starting similar.
Yep. Lateral move only.
It's not going to help, right? So we did the only thing we knew we could do, and we just prayed. And so we would walk and we would pray and we would walk and we would pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. And what are we going to do? I don't know. We're praying. That's all we can do. We're just going to keep praying. Meanwhile, we're looking for a home church at the same time. We're praying, looking for this home church. We're doing these things. My wife is getting bigger. She's getting more concerned with what we're going to do, but keeping the faith with me. And we went to go check out a church we didn't end up going to, and we were driving back, and I remember it vividly. She goes, babe, I know we're keeping the faith, and I know we're praying, but what are we going to do? And I said, I don't know. But if the Lord would have me clean toilets, it's what I would do if I knew I could provide for you. It's exactly what I said. Meant nothing with it, except for the fact that I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Right. Yep.
Not literally toilets. Yeah. And the next day I was in prayer, and I believe that I sensed the Lord tell me to start a cleaning company.
Go clean toilets.
And then when I was like, what? And then I remembered what I had said the day before. And I went, okay, and all these ideas came. I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. Like, this is what you want me to do. Fine. Like, you're talking to me. I'm hearing you. It's enough. Like, hearing you is enough. I just want to hear you and know what I need to do. So I went out. I told my wife, I said, I know what we're going to do. And she goes, you're going to start a cleaning company. And I went, oh, okay. How do you know that? And she goes, about a year ago, it was one of your ideas, like a solution to your problem. And I thought you were too good for it. Because it was post-music.
Sure,
she wanted me to...
You're the cool guy who was on stage. You deserve to be in the limelight. She believes in you.
Yep, you got it.
And a person that she believes in shouldn't be scrubbing the gross part of a building.
Right, which, of course, our mentalities have changed wildly since then. Of course. But that is exactly what it is, And she loves me. She supports me. She wants me to achieve my dreams.
And I love that she sees you as better than that at that time.
Right. And she goes, but you know what? As I thought about it, I don't know what made me think of it. She goes, but I thought of it, and I'm like, this is perfect. You could clean at night and watch the baby during the day. And I went, I hadn't even thought of that.
What a plan.
Exactly right. What a plan, right? So
who needs sleep?
Yeah. So I opened up a computer for the first time in who knows how long, and got into Microsoft Word for the first time since high school. So we're 10 years removed at this point.
So at that point, you're probably really good on the frets, but are you like hunting, pecking on the keyboard?
I still remembered my stuff, yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, those fingers are talented.
I'm still moving around. So I went on there, but I don't know the first thing about making a proposal. So I get on Microsoft Word, I'm like writing all this stuff from scratch, trying to figure it out. Who are we? You're dreaming up all this stuff, which is what starting a business is. You're dreaming up these things. And during the time that I was at that medical office, we had gone through 6 cleaning companies in 6 years. So it was part of it was like my muse.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these things going, what did they mess up on? Or what things did I hear reverberate through that building while I was there? I heard people complain about not being paid enough, right? I heard people, I saw companies that didn't stock the paper towels. I saw companies that were late or didn't show up. And so these became the beginning points of the things I was going to fix when I started this company. But first it was economics. I have to make money for my family. So I get this proposal done, and sorry, I need to slow down. So let's back it up a little bit. So we have our firstborn on the 7th, and then I incorporate the company on the 13th. And I spend every dollar we have in the account to get 100 business cards, insurance policy, and then get us registered with the state. So I bring my baby home with no money.
And no cleaning supplies.
No cleaning supplies, nothing. I'm telling you, it is literally bootstrapped. And we were strapped.
I'm getting nervous for you, and I know you made it, but this is something.
Oh yeah, we had nothing. And new parents trying to navigate that, and it's a nightmare. Digging into the coffee can, of coins. And so I go back to work after a little bit of maternity leave. I go back to the office with these business cards, and I'm like, well, Lord, you told me to do this. Like, this is going to be wildly successful. And I've grown in my relationship with him to know as well. So I'm handing out these business cards, and there's nothing. And in fact, I'm at risk of losing my job at this point for promoting my business. And that's when I go home, and I'm like, Lord, you told me to start this. Surely you're going to give me an account. And then it was on my heart, well, why don't you just clean the office you work at? So then that's when I started crafting this proposal, right? So I bring it in, sealed envelope, don't even know what it should look like, did my best, came up with a price. I go into my work that day, I go to the manager's office, and I walk in, and she goes, is that your resignation? Your company successful? And I went, no, actually, it's a proposal to clean this place. And I handed it to her, and she hands it back, and she goes, our owner's not going to go for that. And I went, I am desperate. I just need you to hold on to it, just in case. She goes, fine. She kind of whips it on the desk. Love her to death, still to this day. Wonderful woman. Huge advocate for me. And the very next day, that doctor that owns the building, owns the practice, walks into her office the next day and says, I am sick and tired of the cleaning company. Find me a new one. Because he had gone and they didn't have paper towels. And his hands were wet. Went to a second place to dry his hands, no paper towels. And it was enough. And so he went, and he says, find me a new one. And she goes, wait. The young man up front Jeremy started a cleaning company. He goes, who's Jeremy? She goes, the young man up front. He goes, he's a bright young man, give him a shot. Prior to that, anytime this physician would ask for anything, like take his car to get it washed, drive a golf cart around his neighborhood, picking up people for his Christmas party, serve drinks when he was hosting a congresswoman or congressman in the office, I was Johnny on the spot. Because I was interested in how he did it, because he built it from nothing too. And so I was always interested, how did you get here? How did you get here? We couldn't talk on that level, but I wanted to be near him. And I don't know if it had an effect, but he said, give him a shot.
I absolutely assure you that level of willingness, because that's actually, in the movie industry, we have production assistants. You hire a PA, and if you're so lucky to be in a position where they're basically interns, you are feeding them and they're free. And the first couple of days, the ones who aren't going to make it in the industry, they know and they're gone, and now you're down a couple PAs. But then you got a couple of kids on set. They're like, who cleaned this? I'm like, oh, Sarah over there. I'm like, all right. And then somebody says something about the script, like it's missing a page, and like nobody noticed, but the PA noticed. And you're like, oh, okay. So you're like, these people have heart and brains. Maybe we'll keep them around. And, a couple of experiences later, you realize they need their shot. They deserve their shot because they earned it, because they did what you did, which was you were there. Being there is a unique thing. Some people have no interest or ability to just find their there-ness.
It's missing. It's missing a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was this idea that it was okay to be in the economic situation I was at because I was working on making it better.
Mm-hmm.
And so being around people that knew more than me or were more experienced than me were not people to disdain or be upset with. It was the people to spend time with and learn. I love when somebody comes to me and goes, hey, I need help. I'm like, okay,
cool.
Let's go. Like, let's help you, you know? So we got that account. And
was that enough for your wife to go, okay, that feels good? Like, was that, no?
Not yet. So it was $1,150 a month, right? Had no clue what to bill, so I asked them, what are you charging your current company? It was that. I said, okay, fine, I'll just charge that. Ended up being wildly off, but it's what I got, right? And so I'm now working during the day and then leaving for a couple minutes, coming back and cleaning that place at night, learning how to clean and learning how to be detailed and going through these processes. But my wife is still on maternity leave, and remember, when she goes back to work, there's still this critical issue of being able to watch the baby, and we have not solved this problem yet. And so I'm doing this juggling act between working the day job and cleaning the same place I work at, and we rent this suite out to a facility upstairs. The church that we went to that we didn't end up staying at in my story, remember? And when I said I'll clean toilets, there was a woman there. And that woman, I waved at that Sunday at church because I recognized her. Little did I know she didn't recognize me. She worked for the suite on the second floor of this building. And so one day I see her walk down. She comes through the front doors. She says, I hear you're cleaning this place. I went, yep. She goes, well, it doesn't make much sense for us to have a different company. Why don't you come and give me a proposal for our suite? I said, I'd be happy to. Shaking in my boots. I go up there, and I have to actually come up with a proposal this time with an actual price and figure out how much I need to charge. And so I go through it, and I put together the best methodology I can to figure out how much to charge. And I submit it to her, and she's a Christian woman, and she goes, we need to be working with other Christians. She goes, we'd love to use your services. To the very day my wife had to go back to work, no exaggeration, I promise, I'm not here to exaggerate, to the very day that she had to go back to work, the Lord had replaced all $1,400 of my income plus $5. And I was able to turn in my resignation during the day, clean those two facilities at night, and watch my daughter during the day, on the very day.
Wow.
Yep, right down to the wire. The Lord just kept walking me in faith, one step at a time, teaching me that He's got me.
So how long did you coast on 2 accounts? And then at what point did you go, now I need to grow and do more? The story, we know the ending already because I had you lead with it. You've got 50 plus employees and something's clearly working. How do you go from, dad daytime and nighttime cleaner to business owner? Because at that point, you own a job. You actually don't own a business.
You got it.
How do you change that?
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work. It was a daunting task, to say the least. Before I was even able to hire my first employee on a Friday, because depending on the schedule of a facility or the facilities you have, they always almost every time will all culminate on the Friday. What I mean by that is some are 5 days a week, some are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, some are Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you have 15 accounts or 12 accounts, 13 accounts, there's a good shot that all 13 of those are going to show up on that Friday. And so on a Friday, I would go in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would get done at 6 a.m. the next day.
Okay.
And I would go to Denny's, I would eat breakfast, come home and crash. And that was what a Friday looked like before I was able to hire somebody. So it wasn't long, actually. The lady that brought me to that suite upstairs, she got transferred to another facility. She brought me with her there.
Okay. Did you keep the other one?
Mm-hmm. Kept the other ones.
Cool.
Now we had 3. She told about me to a friend, a colleague in the industry, and so then I walked her facility, started doing services for her, which then led to another one.
Are you still cleaning these all yourself?
Yeah, still all by myself. So that's.
I'm tired just thinking about it.
Yeah. So this is a good business note. I had to play both I am wide awake in the morning and ready to serve you and big business. And then I had to go in and give meticulous service, because if I got complaints the next day, I wouldn't be able to go in and fix them because I'm watching my daughter.
Wow.
So what built our standards of keeping these places as clean and as meticulous as possible. We're human, we make mistakes.
Sure.
But keeping it that way and ensuring it was there. This was the beginning of that quality control program. This was the beginning of all these things that developed into systems with our company, because I could not risk getting a complaint the next day because I had no way of going, because I had to watch my daughter. And the cleaning industry isn't this wildly multi, high profit margin, make millions of dollars right out of the gate kind of situation.
Right.
It just isn't. It's a service business with very low margins. And so it took a long time to make money that even mattered, that didn't have to be dumped back into the company. For the first 4 years, my wife would ask me regularly, why are we doing this? And I would only say, because the Lord told me to. I don't know anything else, but this is what I believe I'm supposed to do. And so we're going to keep doing it. So I kept getting bounced around all these colleagues. So it was all word of mouth, which then led to some very strategic meetings that I didn't place there. They just happened. They found me. And I had invested quite a bit in our process, in our systems. I wanted to be better than the competition. So I invested in really modern technology at the time. And so we just, even back then, we didn't have dip and drip mop systems that just spread harmful bacteria and are nasty. We had flat mop systems that were cleaner and they were hands-free. And so we've continued this idea of really being disruptors in the janitorial industry. And by offering good service, good high-quality service, and being honest and being reliable and having that no-quit mentality, just going in and doing what needed to be done, is what grew the company. To this day, we have not advertised or done marketing to grow to the size we're at. It's all been word of mouth. It's all been by the spread within specific organizations that have seen our product, seen our results, worked with us and said, okay, well, let's take you here now. And why don't you go clean these facilities as well? It's been relationship is what it's been, and just genuine relationship. I really do care. I really do have, for the 72% of our customers that are healthcare, I really do have a patient-centric mentality. Like, we do this for the patients. And we do this so that the staff of those facilities can focus on the patients.
Yeah.
We don't need them focusing on what we're doing or what's happening. So the first 4 years were rough. Questioned why we were doing it. In fact, almost sold the company. When we were doing $178,000 a year, I almost sold the company. And my offer was, just pay me what you think is fair and hire me and give me a salary.
Were you trying to get out of the headaches?
Yeah, it was tough. We weren't making any money, and I was paying employees at this point.
Yep. And
there was just no money. I couldn't pay myself regularly. Very rarely could I actually write myself a check.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
True stories. Yeah. True stories told by us. So it was really rough. And one of my ops managers has been with me for 8 years. And so she remembers these days, because when I hired her and I would drive together in my Jeep, and we would go and clean all these places. The Jeep I still drive today. And so I
love that. Like, you could get another car, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And you're still driving the old one.
I like my Jeep.
I do. Sometimes you ever read the Millionaire Next Door?
Mm-hmm. I haven't. No.
You're familiar with the title probably because everybody says it. But the basic gist is that, that really humble person driving the 1992 Buick in mint condition and washes it every week diligently, probably also has multi-million dollars lined up in the bank, and they're well adjusted and they're low key because that well-adjusted low-key living is what led to their ability to have the bankroll. Yeah. And the flash doesn't matter to them because they have different priorities. And so I love when I meet a business owner who doesn't need, not that it's wrong to have a Range Rover or something. It's cool if that's your thing and you genuinely can afford it. Yeah. But when you don't need it, that speaks volumes.
I love my Jeep. It's good. It gets me where I need to go, and it's
Wrangler?
It's a Jeep Patriot.
You know what? My sister-in-law had one of those. Good car.
Yeah, it's a 2011 Jeep Patriot. It's got 160,000 miles on it.
which you can only do in a non-road salt area. Florida allows you to do that.
Yeah, it's good. It gets me there. But she would tell you stories because I would always pay my employees, period. No matter what, they would get paid. And if that meant I had to not pay myself, they got their check.
Yep, I get it.
And there were times, and if she was sitting here, she would agree 100%. She would come into my house and she would see the pantry and there wouldn't be food. You know, the fridge would have like meager bits in it, and here she is with a paycheck in her hand because she's getting paid. And so we struggled for a long time. And I remember in 2017 was the first time that the taxes came in, and I went, oh wow, like $160 profit. Whoa, weird. It was $160 or 170 something in that neighborhood. That kind of marked the year. By 2019, I was able to pay myself regularly, which meant I rarely went without a paycheck every 2 weeks. And then by 2020, I paid myself regularly since that point. And so it was about a 7-year ramp up to actually have some stability in the home, have the ability to pay myself regularly, pay off debt, own the things we have, and just continue to invest in the company. But all the while, that's what we did. We invested in our teams and in our company, and we're still doing that today.
I love it. I love it. That is, I mean, you have a journey. And I knew we were going to get into something where I was going to be like, oh, wow. And here we are. Your business, like I've got a pandemic story. Everybody's got a pandemic story. Yeah. We all got blindsided. You happened to choose a business that was going to really have to pay attention to this new pandemic reality, and you just stopped at 2020. So I gotta go there. You know, January, February, March of 2020. What's going through your head, and what reality were you finding yourself ushered into?
Yeah. So, really cool question. So we had a trip planned back home to Wyoming in March of that year.
Canceled?
No.
You did it?
No. Yeah. This is. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just shocked.
Great.
Hold on here. I'm just buckling up for this story here.
True story. So right before we left, we're seeing all those little red dots in China pop up.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, what is this? Is it going to come here? Is it going to be here? And I don't remember the timing exactly, so I don't want to be dishonest. But I ended up ordering a bunch of Tyvek suits and masks and respirators. I ordered a bunch of consumable and paper products before I left. Like I ordered all kinds of stuff, and we stocked it in our conference room. And so when we...
Just on gut?
Just on gut, yeah. And wild. Now we were partnered already, and we're still partnered with a company called Steramist, binary ionization technology. Really cool stuff. We had been with them since 2018. It was actually first developed by DARPA as a response to the anthrax attacks. So they would go in with this product, and they would decimate the anthrax, right? So I had somehow landed upon this company, and I'm like, we need to offer this. This is great. Flew up to Washington, D.C., met with these people, Frederick, Maryland, met with these people, loved the product. I'm like, man, how do I get on board with this? And it's really cool. We use a 7.8% hydrogen peroxide molecule that we shoot through this spray gun, but there's a plasma arc at the end. What that basically means is it's going to take that atom and it's going to break it into two different parts, an OH molecule each. What happens is, the way I explain it to people, is it becomes incredibly angry, and it wants to attach itself to anything it can. So if I go in for COVID, or I go in for flu strain, or I go in for Ebola, it's going to go in and it's going to attach itself to that, but anything else as well, including mold and mildew spores or bad odor causing bacteria, because that's its whole job. But once it does that, it deactivates it. Because it delivers a negative charge, and it deactivates whatever it comes in contact with.
You're like electroshocking all of this stuff.
Kind of, yeah. And so what becomes extraordinary is that it was OH in the air, which means it leaves no chemical residue, which is why I loved it, because a lot of times what we're cleaning these surfaces with can be more harmful with added layers over and over than what was on it previously, right? Like if you're cleaning school tops with bleach every night and your kids are licking that, what's more harmful?
Right.
Is it going to be that germ that was there, or is that bleach now going to become the more harmful thing? So we really like the product. The reason I share that with you is because I had this mind to be invested in these technologies for a while. So I had that for 2 years sitting in our office, barely getting used because nobody needed stuff like that. Then comes 2020, right?
Wow.
And so we bought some other stuff because I think I had seen some news stories and some pictures of people in China with donning all that gear, right? And I'm like, okay, let me order this stuff and get it. We go to Wyoming, have a fantastic trip. We're in Denver International Airport, and I'm looking around at people in there going, oh my goodness, what is happening? And I noticed that the red dots started to make it here. And so I literally flew home with a woman, bless her heart, that was covered in garbage bags and duct tape. And she sat inside the plane in like grocery sacks and everything, like just totally taped up. And we knew we were coming into something. So we got home, and sure enough, here it comes. Starts making its way in. And so the blessing for us is that we were in healthcare. So our teams got to keep their jobs. We had to continue cleaning. So there wasn't much of a change for us. We were really blessed, very fortunate to get to go to work every day and get to...
You were essential workers.
We were essential workers. So we got to continue to work. And we got to use this technology a little bit here. We also got a really nice opportunity to look at the service offerings we were offering prior to COVID and realize they didn't need to be adjusted, which was beautiful. We were operating above that standard for so long that there were just very minimal changes we needed to make. Like, we put more focus on things like light switches and high-touch surfaces like that.
Okay.
You know, things that we hadn't previously done every day, we were now doing every day. So we were really blessed, very fortunate that we had already been operating at that standard. But another thing we got to do, which I'm very proud of, is we got to ensure that we were just continuing to be an honest and reliable company. And so we never once marketed any decon work, infection control.
Did you get to use your Angry Molecules tool?
Yeah, we got to use Angry Molecules, Theramis, yep. But there were a lot of these cowboys coming out of the woodwork that were buying these fog machines off of Amazon and filling it with bleach and calling themselves infection control specialists. If that's anybody listening, I'm sure some of you had a good intention, but a lot of those people were taking advantage of folks. So I didn't market my product during that time because I absolutely did not want to be lumped into that category. So we continued to only offer those services to those that would reach out to us. Or if we got into a conversation, we could do it. You know, we went into some homes during that time and did it for free and just tried to help people out. There were a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of the situation. We wanted to make sure we weren't one of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of mind blown that, you know, some of the things that I think you were attuned to things that maybe business owners in other industries are watching industry activities, and so they get attuned as well. But the fact that you were seeing red dots, buying materials, because I mean, I remember we had a manufacturing company that we continue to work with in our business, who ended up serving in that time frame as essential. They were rapidly developing how to bottle the vaccine, so they were part of figuring out how to get millions of vials done fast. And they were also pivoting some businesses that had bottling for alcohol into changing that over to be bottling for sanitizer, because it is alcohol based. And so I remember watching them be a part of this insane scramble and hearing stories of, we've designed a solution but we can't get the materials. We can't let people in the building yet because we don't have the right bunny suits. Just all of that was everybody's issue. And here you are seeing it coming. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. The way the Lord made me, I suppose. I can't tell you exactly why we had the consumable products. Consumables in our industry are toilet paper, paper towels, things like that. I can't tell you what made us stock up on that. There must have been an ulterior reason for that.
Sure.
Nobody would have ever anticipated that we would have toilet paper shortages during that, right?
What a weird thing we ended up experiencing.
Yeah, and we didn't have that shortage because we had this back stock, you know, and so we could offer, sounds silly, but we were able to offer hand sanitizer and toilet paper to all of our employees. It was a weird perk.
Hey, we saw on social media, people were posting like, I got a roll here and I know what I got, $1,000 or you can't have it. Like all those joke memes that were going around.
Crazy.
But it was almost for a moment, not a joke.
No, it wasn't at all. It was wild. And so we were sitting on it. And then, yeah, so we had these things. So I don't really know what caused us to do that. It could have been just thinking ahead on maybe some shortages for the facilities. You know, what if transit goes down? It could have been a thought, because I don't really remember. It could have been a thought of, you know, where our products are coming from. Do we need to have some backstock? As for buying the suits, again, I didn't want to be in a situation where I couldn't have them.
Kind of self-preservation.
What were we up against?
Yeah.
None of us knew what we were up against. We had no clue. We're just watching it find its way over here, and I just wanted to be prepared. I didn't want to be caught without the things that I needed. And if this ended up being incredibly detrimental at the time, speaking of the time and looking at this and wondering, well, I need these things.
Right.
Like, these are going to be things I'm going to need to do my job. Like, if this is really incredibly dangerous, as it looks like it's going to be, I'm going to need these things to go into facilities, perhaps. I'm going to need to offer my employees these suits. I didn't know what I was up against. So, you know, I don't know. It's just, I suppose, the good Lord giving me a little bit of intuition, you know?
So where do you go from here? You survived the pandemic because, honestly, it was less of a challenge for you, as we just heard, than some businesses. It was more of an opportunity. And you're here now.
Yeah.
100 plus, how many facilities?
I think somewhere around 115,
120 facilities, 50 plus employees. You seem like you're happy with the business you've grown. What's the next phase?
Sure.
What's the plan? I mean, some people want to scale, some people don't. Some people have certain visions. What's yours?
Yeah, sure. So 21, we had encountered a crisis much larger than COVID for us, and we realized that we had this big, massive financial problem, six-figure problem that we had to pay off in 2.5, 3 months, and it was largely due to what we would call time theft. So we realized that a lot of our employees were padding the clock and stealing wages from us. And it had incrementally hit us in such a way that we didn't quite catch it in time. So we get through this, we pay this off, we start paying this loan back, right? We get this new technology, GPS tracking technology, having our employees use it to try to stop this. And we realize in 22 that some of them are downloading these apps that can actually allow you to move the pin on the GPS. And so then we started seeing it raising again, where people were taking the wages. And we had this critical moment where I could be like a lot of people I was hearing complaining about unemployment and complaining about all these people that are sitting at home collecting this money, and I'm not going to pay more, and this is what I pay. That was reverberating everywhere. You could hear the echoes of people doing that, and it's very attractive, right? Like, to be a part of that complaining bunch. And I had a decision to make, and the decision became, we are going to work harder, and we're going to make this better, and we're going to attract better people. And so we went to what we call flat rates in the industry. So we pay by the building per the day. So if you run 6 buildings, you're going to get paid for those 6 buildings every single day. It's kind of like a salary, but it's based on performance, in the sense that if you do 5 buildings, you get paid for 5 buildings. 6 buildings, you get paid for 6, right?
Sure.
Which worked a lot better. We lost some money doing it that way, but it was controlled. There were no variances,
yeah,
right?
If somebody's reporting 16 hours, but they actually are doing it in 6, you lost 10 hours.
Yeah.
But you can't over-report a whole building.
That's right. So all at the same time, Florida comes through with these wage increases, which I'm all for. Sure. I don't know how somebody lives on $10 an hour. I don't understand it. And God bless anybody that's working 2 and 3 jobs to try to make ends meet. A lot of my employees have to work multiple jobs. I mean, it is absolutely humbling. So we have all these battles in front of us. And so we spent all of 23, and we're still working on it. We're not perfect. But we spent all of 23 focusing on the employee, the team member, the company culture. How do we attract better people? How do we keep better people? And so one of those solutions was wages. Mm-hmm. And so we worked on increasing the wages, which we're still continuing to work on increasing. We want to be the top wage payer in the state of Florida for our industry. And I'd like to be one of the top ones in any corporation in this state for an entry-level position. So we're continuing to increase that starting number, that base flat rate. That was one of the things. And then creating a better company culture. We started a 401k last year. We have this new healthy living program that we're going to start kind of rolling out. And we started newsletters and employee of the month programs and recognizing people and asking them questions and seeing what makes you do a good job for us. Why do you stay here? And we went from, at our peak, 300+% in employee turnover in a year to last month boasting 1.8%.
That's a miraculous shift.
Amazing, right? And so, if we stick with that, we're looking at about 24% at the end of the year.
324%.
Right.
This is one of those situations where you want the small number.
Yeah, huge improvement. And again, we're still working on it. Like, we want to be better and better and better and better for our team members. We want to give them opportunities to grow in their careers. We ask questions. I send surveys. I go, what are your goals? There may be, what are your goals? Like, what are you interested in? What kind of things do you want to do with your life so that I can target their growth a little bit better? And so we're still working on that. We're still developing these things. But what it made me realize is I have a lot of incredibly talented and intelligent people working for me. Intelligent people. It's no surprise that in my industry, a lot of the people that work for me have immigrated here, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of those folks are attorneys, lawyers, doctors, nurses,
in other countries.
In other countries.
Right.
And they are absolutely bright. Please let it be known that the people cleaning your facilities oftentimes have amazing degrees, and they are incredibly intelligent.
Let's even take it a step further, and I've run into this. Your janitor or environmental services specialist might just be smarter and more qualified than you are at your own job. I've run into this. I met a woman who had 2 law degrees in Columbia, but she was drawing blood, and she came to the U.S., figured out how to get that job, and so she was a phlebotomist. Is that the term? Mm-hmm. And so she's drawing my blood, and also riffing on legal issues as she's doing it. I'm like, who are you? And she's like, well, back home, I was kind of the thing.
Incredibly humbled. I remember we had an attorney, I believe, that worked for us for a short time from Venezuela. And I went, why? Why are you here cleaning for me? He goes, because cleaning in this country is better than being an attorney in Venezuela. And I was like, oh, man.
Heartbreaking for the people of Venezuela. And, how can you not be proud of the person who will make a shift like that for the protection of himself and his family?
Yep. I genuinely love my team members. I have some amazing folks, and not all of them have immigrated here, but certainly we want to improve the quality of life, and we're working on it. We're not a perfect company by any stretch. I don't even want to paint that picture. But,
I haven't found one, though.
Right. So we're working on it. We're diligently working on it. We're focused on them and their futures, and I realize that in giving better opportunities to them that, yes, may look different than the opportunities they had in their homeland, I want to give those opportunities, and the only way to do that is to grow. And so now, this year, bringing us to this year, the focus is strategic, intelligent, wise growth. And so we want to continue to diversify what we clean in our portfolio. We want to continue to expand into other counties because I have a lot of talented people that deserve opportunities to grow in this company. And the only way I can give them management positions and the only way I can give them salaries that make a big difference in their life is to be a bigger company. So I would really like to offer that opportunity to them. So one of our driving forces, our 2 primary driving forces for growth is stability. We want a nice and stable company, but then it's also the ability to provide better opportunities and options for our team members. If nothing else, they have more to clean, which means they make more money.
Sure.
Best case of those highly talented individuals, of which we have quite a few, I can now give them opportunities that I believe they deserve. And I just don't have the we have a ceiling right now.
Right.
You know, and so we need to raise the ceiling.
Right. So this year is a ceiling raising year.
That's what it is. This year is focused on, you know, refreshing the website, doing some marketing, doing some advertising, doing some networking.
Yeah, you joined. So he's a member of, and you hear me talk about BNI all the time.
Right.
Jeremy is now a member of my group, and we're lucky because I think you're going to be one of those members who, because you're so mindful about your business and your goals, that type of thing I notice rubs off. Because you'll be so actively networking on your own behalf that you'll run into more opportunities than the person who maybe is a little bit more relaxed this year on it. So I think you're just going to be one of those power members where I was like, oh, Jeremy's at it again.
I hope so. I love the group. It's fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
All of you are awesome. I mean, it's truly amazing.
All of us are awesome.
Yeah, all of us. Yeah, all of us. Sure. Just totally cool group. And it was funny. I was thinking about it this morning at the meeting. This new mentality of eating the frog. You familiar with eating the frog? Right? So trying to eat the frog now and take care of the hardest, most difficult thing right away in the morning. And it was so neat sitting there Wednesday morning, 7:45 going, oh, this is cool. This is the day out of the week that I don't eat the frog.
Yeah.
I get to come in and start my day on this networking meeting where I get to listen to people and hear about their businesses.
Am I terrible singing?
Yep. Oh, no, that was great. That was fantastic. So had that been a presentation, you would have been a contender.
Oh, yeah.
You would have been a contender.
I know. Julio really owned it, though. If you
did.
guys want to see some singing in the morning, for whatever reason, our BNI does that every once in a while.
It happens more often than I think we let on.
Yeah, I know. I kept joking today, like, we don't do this very often, but this is actually the 4th or 5th time I've run into it.
Second time since I've been there, which isn't long, that I've heard you sing. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just not.
I guess I have no filter, and so I think that'll be a problem you're going to have to deal with me.
I appreciated the rendition of the Garth Brooks rendition. I appreciated it.
Thank you. You know what's really sad is I tried recording it today, and I threw the microphone in. It read that it was recording. I have video with no audio of me singing that today. I kid you not. I've watched it 4 times, and there's no audio, and I'm like, you've got...
Yeah, well, it's probably better for the copyright anyway. But.
Hey, I did it parody style. Weird Al blazed that trail for me. I'm clear. So, hey, on the note of music, let's completely pivot. Let's start landing the plane on this.
Yeah, sure.
Did you ever accomplish any proficiency with your banjo?
That's subjective, right?
Sure. Would you play in front of people?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'll use it in the worship team sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I do now play. So my daughter, my oldest daughter, plays ukulele.
Oh, cool.
She also plays piano and she sings. My son is still finding his place with music. I did go to NAMM this year, and so I picked up automatones for them. If you don't know what an automaton is.
I actually don't feel like I know what that is.
It's this funny little smiley face thing with a stem, and you run your finger up on it, and it makes a wah-wah kind of sound.
Oh, yeah.
Silly little instrument.
They're fun, though.
They are fun. So we're waiting to see, where he finds with his music. And then my 3-year-old, of course, is 3.
Makes noise.
Yeah, but that was one of my introductions back into music, was teaching Emiko and teaching her how to play the ukulele and helping her with that.
That's
fun. And so the banjo was there as well, and then I started picking up the guitar, and I have a dear brother that finally talked me into doing worship occasionally. And so once a month we get up and we worship the Lord for the church, which is cool. I'll play electric guitar sometimes, acoustic guitar, and occasionally we find a place for that banjo.
Okay, Steve Martin or Bella Fleck?
Bela Fleck.
Bela Fleck, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Has to be Bela Fleck because he is just so diverse in his ability. Steve's an amazing player, and he created a documentary we all needed to see. We all needed to know that, the history, right? But Bela also has, these side projects with,
Edgar Meyer.
And Chris Teal, and these are just fantastic, amazing cross-genre albums.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible banjo player. I am not that.
But I'm just, you're a musician who can appreciate other musicians. So I'm like, there's 2 big names out there that most people know if you're a little bit of a music aficionado. And so I just had to ask.
Yeah, I'm a hack. I can comp, I can play, I can roll a little bit, right? But if somebody were to say, hey, sit in with my bluegrass quartet, I'd be like, you got the wrong guy. I can't really hold my own there.
If it's around a campfire, you would, though.
Yeah, I would around a campfire,
right?
Sure.
Cool.
As long as, as long as there was nobody nearby. It was funny when we were at NAMM, because you brought up banjo. We went and saw the Deering booth. The most beautiful banjos created on the planet, still owned by the Deering family. And so we're talking with some of those folks. And the guy that I was with, he's like, hey, I want to hear this banjo. Will you go play it? And I'm like, I really don't want to. Because sitting right next to me, and I'm blanking on his last name, but Jens was there. And he's also one of the most profound banjo players in the world. For whatever reason, I'm just blanking on the last name. But he's standing within earshot. And the whole time I'm playing, I'm like watching him out of my peripherals, just hoping.
Yeah, feeling very on the spot.
Yeah, please don't look at me. Just don't look at me. And he didn't the whole time, which I was so grateful for. But I got to joke about it, and they kept saying, well, even he sounded like you when he started. And I'm like, fair enough. But yeah, if
I don't know if that's a compliment or encouragement.
Me neither. I'm still, jury's out on that one. But I do enjoy playing it. I love the sound of it. It's a neat instrument. It's very unique, incredibly difficult to play. And so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm a hack.
Oh, that's okay. And I'm proudly still a hack. I don't need to be professional with my music, but I still like it.
Yeah.
So, other couple quick questions. We're both parents. What are the ages of your kids?
I have 11, 8, 3.
Okay, cool. So your 11-year-old is curious about business. What does Dadpreneur pull off the shelf and explain about entrepreneurship to his daughter?
So if she's curious about it,
or what's your best advice that you give a youngpreneur?
I think it's less about, not in an attempt to ruffle feathers, but I think it's less about what you love. Like, it's less about that. And it's more about finding an area that needs people that will love it, right? So finding an area that may be distressed or needs some help, and then going and investing in that market. Certainly you talked about it, we're in a digital age. It is a changing world. We're in a changing landscape, and it's wonderful in a lot of ways. It's totally fantastic. But we still need plumbers, and we still need electricians, and we still need contractors, and we need people that are great at drywall. And so there's all these opportunities to go out and create truly tangible businesses that will make money and will pay the bills and will support your family. And so if you're an entrepreneur, the spirit is in the creation and creating something that works. And so I found myself cleaning toilets, and I found myself loving it and absolutely enjoying it and loving the solitude of it and the peace of it. But did I wake up one day and go, I'm going to be a janitor? Or was I born that way? No, of course not. But it's what found me, and I invested back into it. And I fell in love with the process, fell in love with the process of growing a business, and I fell in love with the process of making things clean and shiny. So I think less focus on what your dream is.
Follow your passion.
Yeah, less focus on that, and just what can you do if you're truly an entrepreneur, right? Like if my daughter came to me and goes, I want to start a business, I go, okay, well, what do you want to do? Let's figure that out first. Let's hear what you want to do, because perhaps it falls in that category instantly, right? And then if it doesn't, or if it does, then what can you do, right? Yeah. And then what do we need right now? Because there's a lot of things that are needed. There's a lot of industries that need entrepreneurs. And so that would be my best advice to my child, asking me, what should I do? I'd say, well, what needs fixed? Let's go find something to fix and fix it, or let's just offer a service people need that isn't totally oversaturated. But even then, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, that's why there's cheeseburger restaurants on every corner.
Right. You don't have to reinvent.
No,
you just don't.
Yeah, and each one of them is unique enough to make people continue to say this burger place is better than this one, or this pizza joint's better than this one.
Yep. I've got a lot of friends who own their own podcast syndication companies where they have clients who do podcasts through them, and they do a brilliant job. We're not the only ones either. Right. I did not invent this.
Right.
But we're very proud of the work we do for our clients. So I think we're in the same boat. And I would love to be an inventor. I think it'd be super cool.
Sure.
Be like, nobody ever thought of this, and I made it. That's a very rare thing.
Yeah, it is. You just find your niche within what you're doing.
Yeah.
With us, it's just always striving to be customer and patient centric, like I said, and then being reliable, being honest. Those are things that are in me already, and then just trying to offer a better service every day. So
and sadly, those things are rare.
They are.
It's amazing that your business is unique for just doing the right thing.
That's really it. We clean well. Not perfect, again. I always like to preface that. Not perfect. We do make mistakes. If you hire my company, we're going to make a mistake. But it's the way we own the mistake. It's the way we come in and go, we're sorry you're dealing with that. We will fix it. And we will. We will tirelessly work with our customers to fix the problems. Whether it's problems that are just being created because of a great business we get to clean for, and we get to partner with them, or if it's a problem that one of my team members is unfortunately created. Most times it's not neglect. I've been in this business 11 years. I've had hundreds of employees, if not thousands. And I will tell you, most times it isn't neglect. The smallest percentage is negligence. The smallest percentage. It's usually somebody came in and they're a little sleepy that day, or they're sick, or they're sad, or they have some problem that would affect anybody else at work too that they try hard to keep out, right? But it inevitably once in a while gets the best of somebody, right? And so they miss a garbage can, or they miss a spot on the floor, or they forget to throw something out. I mean, we're humans. And we're all trying to work together in this and trying to figure out solutions. And so it's the way we own it. You know, we come in and we go, yep, we messed up. Let's make it better.
I love it. I love it. That level of honesty is refreshing. I wish it wasn't as refreshing as it is. I wish the world kind of got that universally, but the great businesses out there have clearly figured out how to own that level of honesty, and you clearly are running a great business.
Trying.
Jeremy, I'm thrilled to know you. We are going to run a long distance as friends now together, and I'm very excited for your business as you're growing. The most inspiring thing in all of this, and I am so in awe of your whole journey. But when I get to hear a fellow entrepreneur go, "We have to grow because my people need to grow. They deserve to grow." When they're conscious of your team and their importance, that's leadership. That's real leadership. And so I commend you. We haven't used the word leadership at all in this entire conversation, but that's exactly what it is. And well-led businesses grow. They just do. So, man, that's awesome.
Appreciate it.
You know, Bootstrapped Unicorns, if you're not inspired by this, you weren't listening. Go back and restart it and listen again. And if you are at one of those hard positions in entrepreneurship right now, I want you to really re-listen to this, because there is hope. There's hope all day, every day. You just have to work to find it. And some of it is just the truth that you got to keep going. Focus in, be diligent. This is a season if you allow it to be a season. But if you own it as the rest of your life, it'll also be that. So choose to listen to the great stories like Jeremy's. And, be it whether you're living in your car, or the band just broke up, or COVID's about to hit your business metaphorically. May we not go through that pandemic again. There is hope. And so if you need encouragement, if you're actually going through something like that, let me go so far as to say, drop a message in whatever media you're consuming this content on. Jeremy will be appropriately tagged in all of this stuff as well. Are you in our Bootstrapped Unicorns group yet on Facebook?
No, but I will.
You will be. Yeah. It's where entrepreneurs hang out.
Okay.
And so I have a rule: don't sell in there, only help. So you can talk about your business, you can ask questions, you can offer ideas, you can share excitement for sure. Like we just hired a Rockstar, anything like that, but we just can't sell to each other. You can always go offline and sell to each other if there's relevance and it's not creepy. But the point of it is that we're all growing together. So I don't sell in there as well. I have the self-restraint. I'll share the podcast at the most, but there's no selling because we're growing together. We're running together. So, and you can join that group as well, and I hope you do. So I'm going to quickly make an announcement that I'm pleasantly surprised by. My friend Scott Ramage owns Hire VP. Hire VP, which also, if you already know him, you might remember he owned, the name of the company used to be Media Machine. They're a sponsor of our podcast now. And we're proud to have him on as a sponsor, because we actually use Hire VP. Two of our treasured employees, Angelica and Phil, are technically virtual assistants. Through them, we consider them part of our C47 family. They are part of our team. They're integral to our operations now, and we plan on hiring more through Scott's really brilliant company. And if your business needs to grow and you're trying to hire people, some of those positions can be virtual. Some of them have to be in person. In your case, cleaners can't show up digitally. But sometimes the back end office, the systems and processes, even just watching your calendar if you're an executive and making sure that you show up on time and emails are handled, all of that can be delegated. And we just love the success we're seeing with Scott's whole team and our people that are dedicated to us. You can have that too. So he's offered 10% off your first 3 months. Right now, we don't even have a landing page for you. All of this is going to get formalized over the next couple of weeks. But if you're listening and you want this, private message me, and I will make sure you have a direct pathway to Scott and his team. And they will explain, honestly, the whole deal. And they'll also coach you. Because it's not natural to have a virtual assistant. It's not easy. It's one of those things you got to kind of figure out how to work with your VA. But once you figure it out, it's just brilliant. But they'll coach you through it. 10% off your first 3 months. And if nothing else, if you reach right out to them and you want that 10% off, just say Josh Pies from Bootstrapped Unicorns told me to contact you. They'll get it. Okay? So that's our announcement. I'm excited. It's actually our second sponsor. The other one isn't fully official yet. I'm waiting for the professional bag, actually, that they want us to rep. It's a motorcycle bag with a laptop case, and they liked how I dressed. How cool. And they think the bag will look good with me. And so as soon as I get it, I'll say it's official. Because, I got that little skepticism in me. Like, is the bag actually going to show up? They said it will. I'd like to believe them. So 2 sponsors. Awesome. It's kind of cool. It's very fun. Sweet. Yep, I'll show you the bag. I'll do a review on it. And one of the things I think do you ride motorcycles?
Nope.
See, I don't either. No. I told them that. I was very transparent. And they're like, no. It's just the look. We want you to look cool with it. And I'm like, well, if you think I look cool, then I can do this. So here we are. So I'm Josh Pies. I'm excited. And I'm honored to have you here. Thank you for spending this much time with me.
Likewise, honored as well. You're a great man.
Back at you, brother. All right.